Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 138. With Cipriani on the outs and Brad Shields injured, has everyman Alex Dombrandt done enough to earn a World Cup call-up? You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hey guys, welcome back. Another weekly instalment. I'm joined, of course, as always, by Dan. Hi, mate.
I don't think we've missed a week, mate.
We haven't. We're doing well. We've had a few close calls, but we are sticking to our schedule, and it's paying off. Obviously, it's not us. It's the people that tune in to listen to us. But we're having really good kind of results coming through in terms of the amount of engagement we're getting, the people who are tuning in. That we're getting loads more reviews, which is great. There's a couple to read out today, which I'll do shortly. And Apple have just introduced, not that anyone's that bothered or that interested, but Apple have just introduced new kind of tags for the type of podcast that we're doing. So once I get that all set up, it will enable us to see how we're doing against all the other rugby podcasts specifically, which will be interesting to see.
I can't imagine we're one of the top ones if we're honest with ourselves.
No, probably. Well, I don't know, mate. We hold our own in the general professional sports arena, i.e., that not we're professionals, but the sport we're talking about is. So if we can, and that's obviously going up against football and cricket and golf and everything else that's out there. So if we can find out how we're doing just in the rugby space, that would be it'd be interesting. But it's because of you guys tuning in and listening to us and making it worthwhile to keep this going. So big thanks to all of you guys. Speaking of which, as I say, a couple more reviews. So one's an email. He says it's from David Stockwell. He says, Andy, Dan, as always, great podcast. I'm still following along each week, even despite the Love Island revelation. Although I read recently that the England boys watch it together as sort of a team bonding, so maybe it's fine after all. I can't figure out how to rate or review on Google Podcasts, but if I could, I'd of course give you a solid 3 stars. I know there's been a lot of talk on the pod about Cipriani over the last few months, and you probably don't want to have to continually revisit it. We will. But as it looks like he's been dropped now, I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in. If I was picking the squad, he'd absolutely be going, but I kind of get why Eddie isn't taking him. Over the last couple of Six Nations, it's been pretty clear that England are all about kicking for territory. It's been Farrell's go-to for a while, and Young's box kicking just serves to back it up. If the plan is to kick for territory and then use our monstrous defence high up the pitch to eventually force a line out from an attacking position that the likes of Manu can run off, then I get it. Cipriani's a ball player that will get the team running with ball in hand, and that doesn't seem to match up with what England are doing at the moment. Stylistically, I'm not really a fan. I'd like to see Mako, George and Sinclair tearing it up in the loose with Manu off their shoulders and Daly picking running lines from the back. I just don't think that's the game plan we're going with. It seems to be more about forcing set plays that have been rehearsed on the training ground. I hope I'm wrong. Very interested to hear your thoughts on it all. Best hurry up and make the next pod. FYI, just joking about the 3 stars, it would of course be 5. Best, Dave.
Nice, I like that one.
Yeah, good. So,
so that was interesting. There were some really interesting points there.
And it probably leads nicely on to, because obviously one of the big things we need to talk about is what's happened with Danny Cipriani. We've been talking him up. Obviously, there's been this big debate: will he, won't he get into the training squad? He did get in. He's now been dropped. We said last week anyone not going to Treviso is probably out of the running. What do you think? Is he out of the running?
Yeah, he is. So the one thing I've got about it, let's be realistic about it. You're not being left behind if you're going as part of the World Cup squad, are you?
I don't think you can. Not when the whole point of the Treviso training camp is to kind of acclimatise to the sort of conditions that they expect to see in Japan. It would be nuts to say, I know up until now he's kind of gone like, certain players need to focus on certain things, but I don't think any of them don't need to acclimatise.
Yeah.
I think that's why we said last week, didn't we, that it's a big kind of factor in what we think is going to happen 10th of August or whenever it is that he's announcing the official squad.
So I want him there, but there's also a part of me, I don't think Eddie's, like, as much as people give it some, I don't think Eddie is actually like a petty man or anything. Eddie's brought Danny Cipriani into the squad. He's clearly not seen, there's clearly something that's missing that he wanted to see, hence he was sent away for the training. And I have no idea what that is, because when he plays for Gloucester, he looks like he's pretty much a full package to me. But I think he's been given his chance. Eddie, there's something missing that Eddie wanted to see. And Eddie's like, look, I'm not seeing it. You may come back later. I'm not like pissed off. I don't think he's been completely mugged off. I think he has been given a chance.
I agree with you, mate. I think I think what we've been saying, what we've been calling for the last few months is that he gets his shot. You know, he's earned his right to have a shot at proving that he's the man for the job, or one of them. And he got that. He was called up. Now he hasn't stayed. I agree with you. I don't think it's a petty thing. Eddie Jones, there's no question. Eddie Jones wants to win the World Cup. It's what he said that he's going to come here and do. Why would he do anything to jeopardise that? If he's going to do what he genuinely believes is what is necessary for England to win the World Cup. He's not going to leave someone out who he potentially needs to do that just because he's stubborn. So yeah, you're right. Something isn't clicking for him. We had a long debate a few weeks back, I think following somebody's review, about not forgetting the fact that George Ford has had this incredible season despite playing for Leicester, who have had an awful season. And that just highlights even more what he's capable of doing, particularly if England find themselves under the cosh. It's looking obviously like Farrell, Ford are the two, and it's looking like he's only going to take two. I'm okay. If that's the decision that he's made, I'm okay with it because I feel like, he's been given his shot and he obviously hasn't done enough.
Yeah,
we had another review because it's on the same topic. It was from Wade again, our old friend Wade. The 5 stars have remained. The 5 stars have remained, but he says, guys, hope you're well. So annoyed I could whack the mad uncle in the attic. So this will be short. Cippers not going to Japan. Short-sighted, weak management, closed shop. The man's a loon. Discuss.
So Eddie's got a game plan in mind. I think the problem is what I'm finding quite interesting, and Eddie is clearly keeping them completely on their toes. Like, no one's safe, no one knows. And I think that's either genius or destructive. And I don't think we'll know until the last minute. Part of me thinks it's quite genius because it will just constantly keep them on their toes, constantly keep them sort of on edge, really focused and going for it. Because there are some decisions that just seem, wow, what's going on? But Eddie, I think, clearly has a plan.
Well, this is it, isn't it? It feels quite scientific. It feels like he's kind of got a formula for winning a World Cup. I hope, obviously, that don't eat my words, but, we have faith, obviously. But it feels like, he's got this formula and he's just plugging all the different parts in. And it's sort of like, if you've got all the parts, then the results kind of create themselves. And it's interesting because it's a different approach. You haven't really seen that, certainly not in an England camp before. But I think you have to look at not just the last few results. I mean, mixed, but don't look at the last result. Look at Eddie Jones since he took over, and there'll be people that will say, yeah, but he's only good for a season and a half, and and then it all gets too much, and he has a history of this being the case. But I don't know. I don't think these boys feel like he's not the man for the job. I think he knows exactly what he wants out of his players, and he goes about getting it in his way. And he's been around long enough that they know what that is. And I mean, would you put it past Eddie Jones to have basically told the world that Danny Cipriani is out, and then just to call him up at the last minute, almost like a sort of no one planned for this?
I don't think that'll happen.
I don't either, but I still wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, he's.
A bit like when he said that Farrell was injured, and it turns out that Farrell wasn't injured. He just caught a nail or something.
I don't think he's playing games. I think he's just like, fuck you, I don't need to tell you what I'm doing, which it doesn't. It'd be nice to know as fans because I'm interested, but
we don't want the rest of the world to know. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
there's no way you can tell the English fans without everyone else finding out. So he's keeping his cards close to his chest, which is good. Just before a World Cup.
And I suspect a lot of the players don't necessarily know it all.
But I do think it's important to maintain that idea that you're not safe until you're there. You're not safe until you're on that pitch playing that game. That's how much strength in depth exists, and unless you can prove right up until the 80th minute or the 110th minute, if it goes to extra time, that you're absolutely giving 110%, then there's someone else who could step in and maybe give more. I think when you have teams that are all about the bonding and and it's just about this kind of close knit group, and they're going to do it for one another and all this sort of stuff. That's all well and good, but if it doesn't go to plan, don't give yourselves a slap on the back and go, "Oh, well done, lads! At least we did it together." We want to get it right, and I guess this is the first time it really feels like the players are being told, "You've got a job to do. You're getting paid a lot of money to do it, and if you don't do it, we'll find someone who will." Will that be a bad thing? I don't know. It's certainly a different thing.
Yeah, it's weird because there's part of me, because the England guys, I'm like, let's not hide behind this. There's a few times where they're folded. So I wonder if this is part of that plan to just keep them on edge, keep them constantly, because when it comes down to it in the 75th minute, when you're 5 points down against, God forbid, the Welsh or something, they've been through this adversity. They're calmer with it. They're used to it, and they can as Sir Clive used to call it, teacup. Think calmly under pressure.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if it's part of that. But equally, I personally would have Danny Cipriani, but I'm not I'm just like.
Look, here's the thing, Danny. If you took Danny Cipriani, he is, as David mentioned in his email to us, Danny Cipriani is a completely different player to your alternatives, right? If you take him along and you start him on the bench, because let's be honest, you're going to start Farrell.
Yeah.
You're bringing on someone who has the potential to create magic, but he also has the potential to completely blow up. That he doesn't often have he doesn't often have just good solid games. He can produce that moment of magic, but he can also cause that moment of whatever the opposite of magic is. In a George Ford, what you're getting, and George, look, and as we keep saying, looking at the season that's just been, George Ford clearly knows how to handle being on the back foot. And it's only really if you're on the back foot that you're looking to create these changes in a knockout World Cup, where it's not about how much you score. Well, obviously it is, but you know what I mean. Does that just mean that George Ford is the safer option if you're only taking two? And let's be honest, you're not going to have three fly halves involved in your 23. So you could take Danny Cipriani and then potentially never select him in the 23, because you always want to start with Owen Farrell, and in the event of a problem, you want the safe hands of a George Ford, who's got the experience of playing on the back foot. At what point do you select Danny Cipriani if you take him to the World Cup?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess the counter argument to that is, and God forbid, if you're ever properly in the shit and you just need to pull something out your arse.
But can you afford to go into a game thinking that might happen, or
exactly,
or use up one of your few substitution spaces on a player who you only want to use really in the event of a disaster? You kind of have to say, look, it's a World Cup. We back ourselves not just to perform, but to win it. And therefore, we're going into it going, we're not going to be in a situation where we need to produce some piece of magic out of nowhere just to save the day. Do you know what I mean? It's great if it happens. And when someone like a Danny Cipriani can pull off that move that just results in that, it's easy for us all to kind of cheer and say, wow, he's got to be involved. He's amazing. But I don't. I would struggle to know when, other than in hindsight, I would struggle to know when picking him or putting him on the bench is the right call.
So I agree, and it's interesting because if you look at, and again, I'm going to hark back to 2003. So if you look at Clive Woodward, he didn't make that choice. In actual fact, so the one player who probably had that complete wow factor was Sinbad, James Simpson Daniel, and he didn't make the squad. Clive Woodward went for probably the more conventional. So what you're saying, I think I completely get. You've got Lev going there, and you've got to back yourself. I mean, I think Danny Cipriani is not just about that. I think there is more to him than just about pulling off that minute, because I think he can run a game really well. But like you say, I kind of get it. I personally would like to see him there, but I kind of get it. I don't think it's as drastically bad as some people think. It'll be interesting. Eddie's got a plan, and he's backing his plan. Good for him.
Look, I think personally, I've thought for some time now that Danny Cipriani is the third choice.
And I've heard a rumour that Danny Cipriani is putting a dent in Carol Vorderman.
Really?
That's a rumour I've heard.
Interesting.
It's probably complete bullshit, but I'm happy to spread it and say it's factual. So let's stick with it.
Sounds like a plan. What else? Oh, so the other big news, of course, is there's been more change because Brad Shields is injured, and I think is he officially ruled out for the World Cup?
So that was kind of weird. I think he has to be, right, because he's been sent home. But I think if there was a chance to play, I haven't seen anything saying he 100% won't be at the World Cup. But I don't think you send someone home.
No, I agree. I think especially as there are other players in the training camp who are injured and in recovery.
So I am backing, and I'm sticking by this, I am backing Dombrandt to make the World Cup squad and to be the star of it.
Really?
Yeah, I think Dombrandt has something a bit special. I just think the stars have aligned. I think he's going to get his little fat uni body into good shape, and he's suddenly going to come up and just dominate and destroy. Everyone will be like, who's this guy? Like, what's he doing here? And then he will just go take everyone by surprise. That is my prediction.
Nice. I like your prediction. I mean, look, we discussed our World Cup squad, our 31-man squad, and we kind of reached a point where we said we felt like it was between Shields and Cipriani. Do you take the extra forward or do you take the extra back? We chose the Cipriani route. Clearly that's not going to happen. But now Shields is out. Cipriani obviously hasn't been called back in. Dombrandt has. Do you feel, therefore, that Eddie has already made up his mind that he wants the extra forward and that, therefore, in terms of his 31-man squad, he's going to be looking for that extra back row player? And I guess in Dombrandt, you've got a number 8 option, haven't you?
I mean, Brad Shields Brad Shields, I think, was a fairly big part of Eddie's plan.
Yeah.
So I think him being replaced by Dombrandt isn't we just need someone else there for the numbers for training or something. I think Dombrandt now is a very real possibility of being in that final World Cup squad.
Very interesting.
That's my prediction, and I think he's going to end up just doing something a bit special.
Well, I mean, I hope they all end up doing something. Whoever he picks, let's hope they all bring something special with them. We've definitely got the strength in depth. We've got
who would you rather have? Would you rather have Shields or Dombrandt?
Probably Shields, simply because I think he's got that experience. But Dombrandt has a bit more of the wow factor. Or maybe it's not the wow factor. Maybe it's the kind of the unknown factor. You know, what he's done in a short space of time as a fairly unknown kind of entity makes it quite interesting. And like you, it's sort of like what you've just said. It's sort of, is he that kind of wild card that possibly ends up doing something great? But I guess equally there's that risk that you take someone like that along and he never features. because bottom line, when it comes down to choosing your team for the games, and it's especially if if it reaches the point where it's knockout, it must win games. Bottom line is you're going, I don't know if I've actually got the balls to take the chance.
Yeah, I haven't figured out the back row yet. I'm not sure who's looking. I think Tom Curry is looking, the way he played in the Six Nations and stuff. I think he's looking good. Obviously, Billy. I don't know who he's thinking at 6. I know we've said we'd like to see Underhill there, but I have no idea where Eddie's thinking. I think he was thinking.
Are you forgetting somebody?
Who am I forgetting?
Well, who's been our 6 for the last?
Oh, well, it's for Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I am forgetting someone. Yeah.
So yeah, you've got Underhill and Curry who effectively cover 7, but we're saying it'd be interesting to see the two of them at 6, covering 6 and 7. But you've got Wilson who's a specialist at 6, and you've got Billy at the back. And then of course you've got your second row who most of whom are capable of covering back row.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of them in the back row. I'm
not suggesting you would pick them there. I'm thinking more about, in the event that things happen in the game, that unexpected things happen in the game, and who do you pick as your sub, your cover?
Yeah.
When you've got that ability to move people from the second row to the back row if necessary, does that give you more options for covering other areas? Because you obviously can't cover every position. So I'm just not convinced that Dombrandt gets much of a look in. If he does go, purely because I just don't think he's been around long enough. But who knows? Superstars get found out of nowhere, don't they? So
the stars are aligned, my friend. The stars are aligned. Dombrandt's going to come on. He's going to neck a pint, score a try, and
neck another pint.
Neck another pint, do a drop goal, and then
neck another pint.
Win us for World Cup. Yeah, neck another pint.
A lot of pints are getting necked. I want to say this is unusual for me. It's a positive thing about Wales.
Whoa, easy.
I know, but I'm going to say it, okay? Because I feel like it reflects your favourite year for English rugby. No, our favourite year for English rugby until this year. So Wales have kind of come out and made a thing about saying that one of their kind of biggest goals, I guess, for this World Cup. Obviously, they want to win it, but they want to be the fittest team. Because if you're the fittest team, and we know how the rest of that story goes, because it's everything that Clive Woodward said and everything that we agreed with from the 2003 World Cup.
Yeah.
Why is this having to be? One, why is it having to be said? And two, why is it not just being said by everybody? Why is Eddie not saying this is going to? Can anybody argue with that sort of concept that if you're the fittest player in your position in the world, you're a lot closer to being the best?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I guess it's in a camp. I guess it's about what you probably want to do, and I'm sure they have done a lot of that fitness before, because I guess it's about weighing up how much time do you spend absolutely beasting on that side compared to like tactics and game plans and that. So I guess what's his name? Kiwi Lions boy Gatlin. It sounds like he's saying that there's going to be a huge emphasis on the fitness, whereas other coaches might be like, actually, we're fairly comfortable with our fitness. We're going to put more into our tactical whatever.
Right? Yeah, but I don't think it's about not focusing on other things. But surely everyone should be saying that every player needs to be as fit as they can possibly be.
Yeah, sure.
You don't ever want to see players who don't look, who you kind of look at and you think, well, you could have been a bit fitter for this. Like that in this day and age, in a professional sport, and with the amount of money being thrown around, these guys should all be super. Now, maybe it's Eddie going, I don't need to say that because it goes without saying. So anyone who is saying it doesn't have much else to say.
Yeah, exactly. It's so weird because at that level, I think it's such fine margins. Because they're all obviously incredibly fit. I think it literally is such fine margins, like that extra 1%. And I mean, yeah, fine. Say what you want, you fucking sheep shaggers. No, I the Welsh team are a threat, and that's why. So actually, whilst we're on this, and I'm going to diverse a bit. Did you see Argentina, New Zealand?
I didn't watch the game, but I watched the highlights.
Argentina.
Yeah.
on not a Mickey Mouse team.
I mean, this has been kind of a thing for a little while now. They've been getting better and better, and Argentina historically do well in World Cups. From an England perspective, I guess the danger is that awful old adage of which France will turn up. But if France turn up for this World Cup, are England in a group of death again?
England have a tough group. There's 2 losable matches. I don't think we'll lose either one, but there are 2 matches. I think if we assume
we're going unbeaten, we've already said it till after the final, so we go through in top spot. Who do you back? France or Argentina?
Argentina.
I think I do too. Argentina to go through second.
If you look at how the Jaguares or whatever they want to, Jaguars is what they're actually called, but everyone seems to want to call them Jaguares or whatever. They obviously got to the final. That is basically the Argentinian team. I think they're the toughest match in the pool.
Do you think?
I think so. I don't think France are there. I think it's one of those whereas 1 in 10 matches they're going to pull out one of those fucking ridiculous French games, which is lovely to watch as long as it's not against you.
So France is our last game, right? So we open up with Tonga, then we've got USA, then Argentina, then France.
I believe so. That sounds right. I don't 100%
so we want to get 2 strong wins in early doors. We will. We're not going to be able to. We're not going to be able to kind of look at either of those games. I think as kind of dead rubber games where we can play sort of second string teams and things, because it's the opening of the World Cup. You need your big boys to get some kind of exposure. So we really want results to go the way that means that we then get a strong result against Argentina and potentially we can rest players against France, because actually it doesn't matter if we lose. That's the situation we want to end up in. So I haven't done the maths and worked it out, but I wonder what that means in terms of, do we need some sort of an upset? One of the, maybe like USA beats either France or Argentina. So yeah, that's the situation that we need, isn't it? Where we can lose and still go through at the top.
Yeah, I mean, realistically,
we're
we
not
need to win every pool game.
I've already said we're obviously unbeaten to the final, but in that situation, you can then rest some of your key players, give them a week off before the knockout starts. That's the dream.
Yeah, exactly. When I first saw our games, I thought actually I quite like that. Now I'm not particularly liking it, if I'm honest. I'd rather our last game be like USA or something, just so you've got a bit more downtime before you go into the knockouts. But equally, I guess you build into it. And I think we'll win our pool games, but France are not concerning me too much because they're just been like some of their decisions just baffle me. But Argentina, I think, are starting to look pretty useful.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing is that Argentina seem to be quite good against Southern Hemisphere teams, but they don't seem to be very good against Northern Hemisphere teams.
World Cups.
I've pulled that particular fact out of my arse, but that's how I feel.
No, I like it. Stay with it. Yeah.
But like the last time we had a run against Argentina, we did them about four games on the trot, and I think 3 of them were against a second string side or even a third string side during the Lions tour. So have they changed that much? Have they got that much better since then? And it was in Argentina.
So I think they have. I think they have got a lot better. But I kind of get what you mean. They always seem to have loads of problems, but when we play them, we don't seem that uncomfortable. But I don't want to eat those words. When I saw
World Cup, anything can happen.
Yeah, and when I saw them against the All Blacks, I was like, oh hello, what's going on here, fellas?
It's probably a good thing that we're going into it with a little bit of trepidation, because if you look at historically. teams like New Zealand, best in the world, going into World Cups with a Japan that back then offered nothing. Possibly even another team similar. A couple of games in their group where they're sticking 100 points on them, and then suddenly they get into the knockout stages, and it's like they haven't had the close game practice, and so they come unstuck. We kind of want to be going, thinking about every game as these guys are not as bad as they seem to, as you might think on paper. It's not going to be an easy run, because you don't want anyone getting complacent in a World Cup. It has to be maintain the focus right the way through. So yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with the group that we've got. I think it has the potential to cause upset. It has the potential to be a group of death, but maybe not for England, but for France or for Argentina.
Well, it will be for someone, yeah. I don't think in our training camp. I'm intrigued. Our training camp, there seems to be little information coming out, doesn't it? The article I read the other day was what were the 3 words they were going for, which kind of mean nothing, I guess. But preparation, choice, togetherness apparently is the theme for the World Cup. Well, I mean, let's not go into that too much. I mean, that can mean whatever the fuck you want it to, right? But it can. It seems like that it is a good camp. It seems like there's a lot going on. It seems like they're working hard, but it's also very quiet. And purely as a fan, I'd love to know more.
Yeah, I mean, there are some good videos floating around. I don't know if you've seen them. That England Rugby, I'm guessing, are doing them, and it's kind of a look inside camp at some of what's been going on, and both the training and kind of off the field stuff. And it's been interesting. There was a whole bit where they were learning Japanese. Eddie just saying it'll be really useful for them to know certain phrases. So they're all there trying to learn how to introduce themselves, ask for certain things that they might need in Japanese. There's a bit where it shows them all watching the World Cup final, the cricket, and obviously reacting to that final run out that secured it. And
I love that Japanese thing. I think that's really smart.
Yeah, well, like I said last week, we have an advantage in that, Eddie Jones is like a national treasure in Japan. So he knows, first and foremost, he knows the best places to be, the best places to get away from it all. He knows the best hotels to make life easy, the best places to eat, and if Japan don't make it through to the knockouts, which statistically is unlikely, but if they don't, then the Japanese people are going to start following another team, and is that going to be the team that their national treasure Eddie Jones is coaching, or do they actually not like him anymore because he left? I don't know.
I think he's still a massive legend down there.
So do we then become like the sort of honorary home team?
Yeah, I think that might actually. I think the Eddie factor does play to our benefit, and the fact, like you were saying about like learning Japanese phrases, I think that's really smart. To be honest, I'm sure every team's doing it, but I think things like that, just day to day, if you don't have those like stresses or crowd, you just know how to be like, right, get me a coffee or whatever it may be.
And I think it's just nice. It's. I mean, like you say, I'm sure lots of other teams are doing it too. We're just not seeing what they're getting up to, but it's nice to see, and that's an example of some of the bonding that they're doing, the togetherness, the choice, and whatever other word you used. But yeah, and the World Cup thing. It was there was this clip of them all sort of celebrating the win, and then Eddie Jones kind of immediately walking around in front of the TV and saying to them all, "That is a prime example of how close it can be and how important those last 5 minutes are." The kind of the fine margins that can turn a game, and it was just quite nice to see. It doesn't surprise me, and it's obviously good to hear that they're all watching a bit of Love Island. It's been quite. But if you haven't seen those videos, guys, try and I think they're floating around Facebook. Try and check them out. I think there's three of them out now, and they're about sort of 15 minutes long each, so you get a decent look at what's going on in the camp. A little bit like Living with the Lions, except it's pre-World Cup and throughout these training camps at sort of 15 minutes at a time.
Yeah, I think it'll be, mate. It's interesting what's going on. But there's stuff going on in the camp that so those videos, I know what you mean, and I did have a bit of a look at them. But if I'm honest, I thought they were very sort of they held back a lot.
Yeah, but what are you going to give away? The
no,
training
I'm
camps
not
are.
saying that's a bad thing.
It just gives you a sense, doesn't it? It gives you a sense of what's going on. It gives you a sense of the players and the individuals. It gives you a sense of the way that they're bonding together. All the people who are worried that Eddie Jones is all about individuals and being a taskmaster. But the videos give you a sense that they are enjoying it at the same time as working hard. And I think that's important, and that's a good thing. And maybe that's another reason why Danny Cipriani isn't there anymore. Maybe he just, the rumours that he doesn't get on that well with other people are true, and maybe that was evident.
Yeah, there's something clearly missing, but I don't think that was the case. I don't think there's anything about like Danny Cipriani as a person. I just don't think the rugby he plays, not that it's in my mind it's absolutely genius, and I'm sure Eddie's not mugging it off, but I think he's just missing what Eddie needs for his game plan, which hopefully we'll find out is absolutely fair enough. But it's one of those, isn't it, where if something goes wrong, it's like, well, it's Danny Cipriani who wasn't taken, but if it goes right, it's like that was a stroke of genius. So it's hard to know, but the fact that Eddie clearly knows what he's doing, he's sticking to it. I am growing more and more confident by the day, my friend.
As we should be, Dan. As we should be. You can't get a lot more confident than saying 2 years out that England are going to win the World Cup, and we're backing it so much that we're going to start a podcast in which every week we talk about the fact that England are going to win the World Cup. Talk about egg on your face if it doesn't happen. We'll have to come up with some. I don't know, maybe we'll just quickly change the name to England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2023. Which ironically is what I did in 2015.
Yeah.
The day we got knocked out, it got changed. Anyway, that's irrelevant because we are winning this one. We've said it from the start. We're half right with England having won a World Cup in 2019, and we just need to complete it. And and England's winning run continues with today's Test match victory at Lords against Ireland, which was looking a bit ropey for a while until they bowled Ireland out for 34 today. I think that's the lowest score ever in an innings at Lords. Be surprised if they've many lower anywhere. But England continue winning ways. Ashes starts next week. The training camp continues. The more importantly, the warm-up games begin a couple of weeks' time. Just over 2 weeks, is it?
I think it's there. And then the final squad's named, I think, a couple of days after that first game.
So some big weeks coming, Dan, and we're obviously going to be bringing everyone the live episodes that we've had so much positive feedback on, because that's the only way to do an England game. And it's just great that no one else has cottoned on to that and started doing it. So while the rest of the podcasts out there are saying the same things at the end of every game, you'll get our true feelings throughout the games as they happen, which just offers a slightly unique take on.
I quite
especially in games like Scotland,
like the Scotland match where we just look like absolute morons at the end. But I quite like that.
I feel like the Scotland game should be re-released.
It's I feel like it shouldn't, mate. I heard it back like ages ago, but when I was listening to it, I was like, oh my god, cringing? I know. I was cringing and thinking, I know what's coming. Shut up. Oh no, I went for it.
Oh, good. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in again. We will be back next week, probably just about ready to start talking teams, the sort of the team we expect to see for the opening game against Wales. But we'll definitely be getting into game mode by then. So do tune in again next time. And as I always say, if you get the opportunity, We'd really appreciate it if you head over to iTunes, rate us, review us, let us know what you think. If you want to reach out to us and ask questions, or let us know what you think on social media, it's at England Rugby Pod, or you can email us, englandrugbypod@gmail.com, and we will do our best to answer any of your questions, read out your thoughts, and keep this as a bit of a community podcast, because that's what we're trying to do here. So spread the word, tune in next week, and we'll catch you then.